Welcome on this glorious Sunday evening, part 3, our third of our embarkation tonight of Radio Excellence on KOFO, your home and away voice of the Royals, who you heard earlier today, your home and away voice of the Ottawa Braves, and we will be carrying the quest for a 6th consecutive National Flag Football Championship for the Ottawa Women Braves here on 1220 103.7 FM, and listen always live on KOFO.com. This is your installment after the Jacobson Group and Life is Worth Living. We are now Boomer Takes with Pete and Jake. And welcome everybody from Franklin, Anderson, Lynn, Miami, Osage, Johnson, Douglas counties, the KC Metro, to the capital of Topeka, to Rock Chalk Jayhawk country of Lawrence, and all in between on our beautiful country music giant East Central Plains of Kansas, Dr. Peter W. Tinsman, riding alongside here, along with our show engineer, award-winning Sean Torres. Boy, did we have, Pete, you're an Iowa boy. We had hellacious weather earlier this week. We had 3 out of 4 days during the weekdays of severe weather. Thanks be to God, no deaths, fatalities, or serious injuries. But Pete, we had tornado touchdowns. We had hail the size of baseballs. We had straight line 80 mile an hour winds down here in Kansas. And boy, that was all basically around tax deadline days. That's what we call the perfect storm.
Yeah, it literally is a perfect storm. Yeah, there were storms up in the Dubuque, Iowa area. I got a text message from Samaritan's Purse, who I work with, that they are wanting
organization, Reverend Franklin
fantastic
Graham.
organization.
I admire him so greatly, and I remember his great father, Billy Graham. I love Franklin Graham. He does great work, but I digress. Go ahead, Pete.
Yeah. The tornado hit Lena, Illinois, and caused a lot of damage. They're looking for volunteers to join them to help clean up from the tornado damage area. It really was amazing. It's huge line of storms. We had a ton of rain in Dubuque, I think about 5 inches. So,
well, we've got this phenomenon going on here. Sean, maybe you can explain about this fault line that seems to be just literally splitting east and west of us into two. Talk about what we got going on here, this feature.
Well, I'm not a meteorologist. I just pay attention to it. The main thing that I understand from it is that the West Coast has got a big old heat dome or whatever bubble thing over it, and then on the northeast, there's a cold front coming down from the what do we call that thing in the ocean? The
You mean the ocean water?
Yeah, the water temperature.
What is it called?
No, the El Nino La Nina thing.
El Nino.
It floats over the continent, you know.
Something like that. No. The temperature coming off that, I guess, is changing rapidly enough to cause a colder side on the northeast side, and then we've got this heat dome on the other side. So we kind of end up right in the middle here in what ends up being Tornado Alley, which is kind of the case anyway, usually. But
and I think what it was just you had just a strong cold front pushing through.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, it was about 70 degrees in Dubuque at the same time, and Charles City, Iowa, it was like 27 degrees.
Well,
because they're more the north central portion of the state.
Pete, we had an interesting phenomenon here. Our meteorologist Eric Graves said it as follows. These were the tornadoes that hit in our area on Monday evening. You are looking at a perfect example of what happens when the cap lid over the atmosphere erodes unexpectedly in a tornadic environment. A tornado, possibly significant, and baseball-sized hail has been confirmed near Ottawa, Kansas. Most modeling kept the protective cap over the atmosphere through the evening. However, that isn't the way it panned out. The tornado occurred in a no-risk, 0% area. I go further. Really? 2 additional tornadoes, photos here, just south of Olathe. Quote, again, this has to be the first time in at least modern history where we have 2 tornadoes on the ground at the same time in a 0% risk area. This is just south of Kansas City. This is what happens when the cap breaks, erodes unexpectedly in an otherwise dangerous environment. Really mind-boggling to see. So, Pete, these were quirky tornadoes, and I was out in Mobile Unit 1 covering them, and man, you could see rotation going on, both macro and micro. It was amazing.
That's really cool. So, no directed energy weapons changed the weather, did it?
We don't believe so at this time, but Pete, it's funny that you should query that because, as you know, I teach about 140 kids in various of the classes, and I have been asked multiple times, and of course, the context of these are both statistics and finance class. So weather modification is of interest in the finance area. Event probabilities are of interest in the statistics area. Pete, I remind them that when I was debating as a high schooler, my freshman year in the fall of 1975, we were the same age, Pete. You were at Assumption, I was at Regis. Pete, we were running a weather modification cloud seeding affirmative case in the year where the topic was scarce world resources, and it was a given that the U.S. had been using cloud seeding and weather modification for decades after World War II. This is not new. This happens.
Cloud seeding is not new at all. But the question is
Well,
I don't.
It coordinates though with the question of are they spraying anything in the skies? Are these chemtrails? That's where the nexus is with my kids.
The chemtrail. That's just condensation from the jet fuel exhaust and atmospheric conditions.
That's what most people realize. Yes. But my erstwhile colleagues in the Iowa legislature are spending valuable time trying to pass a law forbidding chemtrail spraying. And I'm thinking, guys, is this your highest, best use of time? Because you don't have jurisdiction over 30,000 feet, even if it is over Iowa. So is this just preening? Is this just pandering where you've got no authority in the first place?
Yeah. But we digress.
Yes, we do. But anyway, Pete, I got a question. So I've heard this rumor. You delivered a lot of babies. Did babies?
I did. You know what? And John, half of them were in the middle of the night. That's why
I was going to ask you, time of day, and did the barometer make a difference? Did the barometer?
Absolutely.
I knew you were going to answer that way. So talk about this.
Okay, so and you're talking to me about. I had pulled up the aviation weather site to see what where the high pressure systems, were, and the lows and everything right now. Yeah. There's one over North Dakota and one over Oklahoma, Arkansas area. But when I would go on call, I would look at the where a low pressure system was. Did we have a front coming through? How close was it getting to Iowa? And I also looked at where was the moon? What was the phase of the moon? You're
serious about this? Okay,
I'm dead serious.
Revise and extend on this. Barometer, moon, weather fronts. Talk about all this.
A rapidly falling barometer. Women would come in with their water broke, not necessarily really in labor, and it would be like nothing is going on, and all of a sudden, boom, 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 boom. All these people, these women, they would all just show up.
Amazing.
They would just all show up, and it's kind of like, what is going on?
This was barometer. If the barometer plunged,
falling barometric pressure. Absolutely. Wow. And you combine that with a full moon. Watch out! You did not want to be on call that night.
Why the full moon? Is that kind of a gravitational
pull?
Yep. Like the tides.
And people will be like, when do you think I'm going to have this baby? This is driving me crazy. And even now, here are my friends who have their children are pregnant. When do you think she'll have her baby? I'm like, when's the next full moon?
Wow.
When's the next low pressure system coming? That's probably going to push things. I noticed it. I absolutely saw a pattern. Somebody can say I have no idea what I'm talking about, but I know what I'm talking about because I saw it.
So with our middle child, who we named after you, Pete, Peter Jacobson, Deb went into labor during the nationally televised O.J. Simpson Bronco chase. Do you think there's any cause and effect there at all?
No, John. Sorry.
So barometer, moon, and what else? Anything else? Barometer, moon?
Falling barometric pressure and full moon. That's what I noticed. A nice dome of high pressure kept things quiet.
Really?
Yeah. And now, obviously, that's not always the case, but it's kind of like you had a nice dome of high pressure sitting right over you. It was kind of like, okay, this is not going to be a crazy night on call.
That's just absolutely fascinating. Well, you've delivered probably a couple hundred babies in your career, I would say, huh?
I know, somewhere about 4,500, 5,000.
Wow. Well, you've got the anecdotal, empirical wherewithal to opine on that one, unlike almost anybody else in the neighborhood here. Wow, amazing. Pete, we're just getting into severe weather season. And of course, on the Kansas plains here, obviously the Wizard of Oz chose Kansas, central Kansas, for its great tornado scene, which has held up very well with special effects when it was made in 1939. I think the grainy black and white juxtaposed prior to going into Oz with Technicolor is part of that. I think the sound effects team did a magnificent job with the haunting winds. I think the very mean Elmira Gulch, it wasn't that they just had a tornado to worry about. Dorothy was trying to protect Toto because Elmira was pedaling her bike trying to grab the dog and take it to the pound because poor Toto was going to get stuck in the picnic basket. But, they used, it is funny, socks and movie motion pictures. The scene of Dreary Anatevka at the end of Fiddler on the Roof, where they are expelled in the pogrom, they put woman's hosiery over the camera lens to make it look more dour and dank. In the Wizard of Oz, they literally used, it was women's hosiery that was the base of the tornado. Now they had all, so that's pretty keen. I mean, this was pre-CGI, and that's when I was a kid watching that in the 60s and 70s on network TV, man, even on a black and white 19-inch TV screen, man, that was scary, Pete. That was scarier to me than the flying monkeys. I was scared of that tornado.
I love that movie. It's our favorite movie. One of my favorites. One of my favorites.
When the kids were little, we took them to see it on the big screen. We had an opportunity to see it on the big screen, and that some movies are just meant to be seen on the big screen. That's definitely one of them. Lawrence of Arabia, you should watch Dr. Zhivago, Ben-Hur, The Ten Commandments. I've seen both Ben-Hur and The Ten Commandments on the big screen. Totally different experience. Phenomenal experiences. Yeah. So, Pete, what's your first movie you remember going to in the theater with your dad and mom? Do you recall?
John, I don't know. I mean, I can remember seeing a James Bond movie, Her Majesty's Secret Service, but I know I was a little kid when that one occurred, but I just don't know if I had seen anything prior.
I remember watching the ABC Sunday Movie of the Week in 1972 when Dr. No, the first James Bond movie that President Kennedy liked so much, when Dr. No showed and debuted on ABC television when they picked it up to show it on national TV. I was like 11 years old, maybe 12. Pete, I saw Ursula Andress come out of the ocean, and
John, stop your thoughts right now. Might as well just stop right now. Okay.
I decided I want to learn how to be an expert
We're going to go
swimmer.
to another subject here. We're just going to move on. Okay.
So Pete,
should we move on? Should we talk about baseball?
Well. So my first movie I remember 1965. I can go back to when I was 4 years old. I remember going to the theater and seeing Mary Poppins with Dick Van Dyke and Julie Andrews. And my mom is a great arts lover. My mom had all the Rodgers and Hammerstein's albums. They were LP, the 33 1/3, Capitol Records or whatever, and you'd play them on the hi-fi stereo. And she had the Sound of Music, both the Broadway Mary Martin and the Julie Andrews motion picture. She had South Pacific. She had everything. Mary Poppins. I think I listened to that soundtrack until I wore the grooves out.
Yeah. Wonderful music. Wonderful music.
But you want to talk baseball? Let's talk baseball.
No, I was just baseball is like to get your mind out of the gutter a little bit here. So I said, let's talk about baseball. And it's like on Fox News yesterday, I believe, they had these three girls from the UK, 13, 14, and 15 years of age, and they dress up like they're back in the 1940s. And they sing just those typical songs, kind of almost like they're USO.
Yeah, exactly. World War II era. Yeah, exactly.
And they were talking about how people really are longing for that time.
This is funny you mention this because Deb and I were talking about nostalgia today, Pete, and how we harken back to that earlier time. Deb's always watching those British series set in that era. My wife loves those British series set in that era.
Yeah. My wife, Heather, she showed me this clip just a little bit ago of Hugh Grant talking about kids on iPads and things like that in schools, and what are they doing and this or that? Can we go back to things that are more simple? I don't know, maybe are people starting to realize that, maybe we've gone a little too far in one direction.
As much as I love walking in Walmart, I feel much better when I walk outdoors and get some vitamin D from that sun on me.
Oh, geez. John, I walk for an hour to an hour and a half every night.
I do too, Pete. You and I are brothers from another mother. That's how I get my 10,000 steps in. And Sean and I were at a broadcast news conference yesterday. He saw me pacing in the hotel. I was trying to get some steps in. It was like 40-mile-an-hour winds. I says, I'm staying in here, but I'm going to do some pacing. Pete, I'm hearing a lot lately about grounding. Do I need to get my bare feet on my lawn? How does that help me? Okay. I hear people talking about this, seriously.
All right. Okay, so, our bodies are, we generate an electrical charge, and some
now,
people...
a lot of people don't know that. Do I really? Deb always thought I was electric from the first time we met. She thought I generated
We're
a charge.
not talking about that, John, and we're going to move on. And but we generate an electrical charge, and it's having that electrical charge that maybe helps induce inflammation. Inflammation leads to disease. Okay,
so the charge reduces inflammation.
No, being neutral, being negatively charged, being neutral reduces inflammation. Okay. So
we've got the positive charge. We need to neutralize it.
We've got to, yes. Okay. And so my oldest daughter, walks outside barefoot every day for a little bit, even in the wintertime. She'll take her shoes off and walk in the grass. She lives in Chicago, just finds an area, walks in the grass just for a little bit, puts her shoes back on, done with it. A year and a half ago, Christmas of 24, she gave Heather and I a grounding mat to put on our bed.
A grounding mat? What does a grounding mat do, Pete?
Oh, so they say it should go underneath the fitted sheet, and you lay on it, and then at night you perspire, and that moisture that the sheet gets a little bit damp, and that allows the electrons to flow freely between your body through the sheet and onto this mat. But I said, no, I'm not going to do that. So I have this mat, instead of going lengthwise on the bed, directly underneath me, I have it going across the bottom of the king-size bed, on top of the fitted sheet, such that my feet lay on it, okay? That has a cord that then plugs into the outlet, but only plugs into the grounding portion of the outlet. So, when you look at your outlet, it's got 3 prongs, it's that round top one, that's the grounding one, and it plugs into there. And that grounds you. And so, and people have asked, what do I think about it? And I truly believe I sleep better when I am grounded than when I don't. Because we do not have a grounding mat.
I got to do this in my stats class. In Iowa. I got to do this in my stats class and do a null hypothesis There's no difference between using a grounding mat at bedtime and not using one. That's the null hypothesis. And I bet we could come up with a low enough p-value to reject the null hypothesis. Now, Pete, now on the other hand, even if it's placebo, who cares? Remember that MASH episode about the Korean War when they ran out of morphine and they were giving the folks sugar pills and they responded better?
Yeah.
I don't even care if it's a placebo effect. Sometimes if it works, it works.
Well, the whole thing is how do you know whether you're getting a better night's sleep? My daughter, she also uses a grounding mat, and her Fitbit or her Oura Ring, it rates how good a sleep you had the night before. I don't have one of those things, and she's like, "Oh, definitely, I get better, significantly better sleep when I'm on the grounding mat."
Well, Pete, I worry that I might cause an environmental hazard, so I've held off on doing.
I would stop eating beans. I would stop eating beans and sauerkraut.
No, it's worse than that. I thought if I go out in barefoot that it might help me on the lawn, but before my recent successful overcoming of toenail fungus, I was worried that maybe I might be contagious on, the foliage. And I would, I love nature. I would not want to be detrimental or deleterious to our natural environment.
So now you've told everybody you have toenail fungus.
No, it's gone. It's gone.
Oh, it's gone.
I said successfully abated it. It's gone,
Well, why don't you tell people how you got rid of your toenail fungus?
Well, there's 2 ways you can do it. You can do that oral pill, or you can use the topical applicator on the local area. This last time I used the topical applicator. It's almost like...
And how long did it take?
About a month or two.
Oh, it grew out that fast.
Yeah. So and it was just basically on one toe, So, I would hate the lovely and gracious Deborah to say I had totally ugly feet. They're just ugly now. They're not totally ugly.
As we get older.
Get my pen? Get my pun? Toe, totally ugly. TOE-TALLY. Totally ugly.
Okay, so we're going to move on. Man.
So, Pete, we've got, I'm detecting both in my peers, in my students, people are a little bit anxious right now. And I think part of that is the economy is not clarified right now. We don't have a new Federal Reserve chair. We don't know where interest rates are going yet.
Well,
the
these kids in college, May's coming up.
They're looking for jobs. They're trying to graduate. Everybody's concerned about the war, obviously,
Iran.
And the free flow of oil at market prices and things like that. Pete, we're coming into summer, and I think it's an opportunity for people to recreate, to vacate, as in vacation, to see some sports in some venues, to see some good music in some venues, to do the food tasting outdoors, to see an air show, to do a picnic. 4th of July, I'm amazed. Walmart is just burgeoning with 4th of July, America at 250. There is bling and merchandise everywhere. I can't wait to buy it because I'm a patriot.
John, I went online, shinesty.com, everyone. Shinesty.com, shine, S-T-Y. And I bought a suit, an American flag suit, pants and a jacket. It's made out of polyester, so stay away from an open flame. And I am going to wear that water skiing on the 4th of July.
You are my hero. That is better than Fonzie jumping the shark on Happy Days in the 1970s.
Yeah. So
Pete, I'm proud of you.
But about people worked up. Yeah, I think.
How does that help? So you're not a psychiatrist, but we can all talk about mental health here. And you are a healer. You are a physician. Pete, I think people need to turn off the news so that they're not watching it 24/7. I think they got to get outdoors. I think they got to celebrate with friends and family and do just lightness of being stuff. Watch a baseball game with your grandkid. Have a hot dog. Cheer. Win a bat coming in the stadium. That type of thing, right?
Absolutely. As my son-in-law, who's married, he's married to my oldest daughter, as he says when people are getting worked up, whether that's, Iran or what's going on with the stock market, oh my God, this is all happening. And his response is, sounds like to me that you need to stop watching the news.
Yeah, I think it's unhealthy to totally be immersed in that nonstop.
Yeah, I think we need to be aware, but to be totally immersed. There was a cartoon I saw back during the COVID times. Some people referred to it as the plandemic. And it was
definitely the scamdemic. There's no question about that. Go ahead.
And it was a photo of an Amish man being interviewed by this woman reporter. She has the microphone up to him, and the caption over the reporter's head is like, "So why don't the Amish have any problems with COVID?" And the caption of the Amish man's head is, "Because we don't have TVs."
Yeah.
So there's a lot of truth to that. I mean, it's funny when you think about it, but we get so worked up. 24-hour news. I mean, come on, when we were kids, you had 30 minutes of national news.
You got half our Walter Cronkite. That was it.
That was it.
And
that was.
By the way, does it bother you that America's most trusted anchorman was wearing a rug and didn't tell everybody? I just digress. This is a shot at Walter Cronkite, but hey, in fairness, Walter Cronkite had the greatest call ever. It wasn't a sports call, but Walter Cronkite's call of the Apollo 4 Saturn V liftoff is the greatest broadcast call in history. If you guys don't believe me, YouTube Walter Cronkite Apollo 4. It is the greatest call of a space shot ever. But I digress.
Okay. Well, that's your pattern in life, John, is you digress.
Hey, Pete, you'll be glad to know that this station, coming on the heels of programming that Sean helps us with, recently we won some Kansas Association of Broadcasting Award. ironically, for some work we'd done with some physicians on the current state of healthcare with Doctors Fogarty and Hartsuch from last calendar year. Sean and I just came back from the Iowa Broadcast News Association. Great Quad Cities guys there. As a matter of fact, as immediate past president, we elected David Baker, professor at St. Ambrose University in your old stomping grounds.
Yep.
And we won awards last night, Pete, for Best Public Affairs coverage and also for Best Political coverage. So the radio thing still has resonance. And Pete, I was reminded of that Monday night when we had 40 minutes to warn everybody to batten down the hatches, and being outside of where Kansas City wasn't obsessed with covering Ottawa, although the TV affiliates did a great job that night, and having a local newspaper, but it's published in paper weekly, and online it has a bit of a paywall. We were really the communication avenue in that 40 minutes before the tornado hit here to get people prepped. And Pete, I think what we're doing, radio has just enormous resonance. Pete, I'll give you an example of this. We posted a news story. We showed a photo of the tornado here in Ottawa. We posted it on our radio Facebook page as of early morning yesterday, Saturday. So basically 4 days later and change, we had 631,000 views of that radio news article that we posted. Radio is still very relevant, particularly in times of public service.
Absolutely. Radio is very,
So Pete, the next big holiday coming up is Memorial Day, right?
Yes, sir.
Do you have a Memorial Day tradition? I want to be by a body of water somewhere.
I don't have a Memorial Day tradition because typically Memorial Day, at least up in Northeast Iowa, odds are it's going to be cold and rainy.
Yeah. Have you ever gone to the Indy 500? Are you a race car guy?
Well, no, I love the Indy 500. Matter of fact, one of my friends here in Florida, he's from Indianapolis, and he's got a suite on the first turn, and he invites us every year to go. But it's like I've never been. We've been to the Indy 500 a couple times, and it's like, okay, I don't need to spend that kind of money for a ticket to go watch it because I've seen it before. But I love it, and I think there's also a Formula One race in Monte Carlo that same weekend, I believe.
Wow.
I may be wrong, and so that I would think that'd be fun to do.
Well, this is
just No, I just think, but when I was a kid, we always got together with family friends, and we had a big picnic, and we did stuff. And I still remember those days. It was so much fun. All the kids running around in the backyard playing games. It really was a good time.
Dr. Peter W. Tinsman, Boomer Takes with Pete and Jake. Get ready for next week's show. Pete, you look good. I'm glad the surgery went well. And happy birthday upcoming. We'll really have to celebrate that 6'5". Pete, it is interesting. 65-year-olds today look much differently than 65-year-olds did in 1975. It's a stark differential. And we'll talk about reasons why maybe we've improved life expectancy despite all of the climatological issues we're dealing with our food preservatives and ag chemicals and things like that. Pete, the other tease I'm going to do is they did a survey of life expectancy of all the Eastern European, formerly communist countries after the Berlin Wall fell. In every single one of those countries, life expectancy jumped about 10 years. Until we meet again, be safe, be smart, be good, be strong. Love Jesus Christ. It's still the Easter season. Our gospel reading today was our Lord appearing to the two disciples on the road to Emmaus. What a great story. It happens to be true. Real history. So rejoice. Thanks be to God. Love Jesus. And pull up the podcast. God bless us, everyone. Until we meet again. Bye-bye.